Before this video starts, I just want to say, this is me about 2 weeks in the future. This video was a disaster to edit. I was going all over the place trying to recover files, recover my entire SSD that failed on me that I used for Reddit. I lost the graphics that I used for the screen scrolling of the stories. I lost my entire background. The only thing I didn't lose was my audio, only because I accidentally saved it onto my main drive. And if it weren't for that accident right there, then everything would have been gone and I would have had to completely restart. I hope you enjoy this video, and let's get on to it. Hello, I'm Skylarr, and this is r/MaliciousCompliance, a subreddit where you do what you're told and said to do. What? Okay, whatever. Not letting me pick my own airline to fly? Enjoy paying for my business class seat on the contracted airline. So, as a federal employee, when we fly, we have to book our plane tickets with the locally contracted airline. However, our union agreement and any other federal travel regulations and guidelines state an employee can fly with any airline of their choice, as long as the ticket price is equal to or cheaper than the contracted airline. My first 2 training trips to the Midwest, I flew with Airline Z because I've been a frequent flyer with them for 15 plus years. They offer plenty of legroom, their planes are newer and bigger, and seats are wide enough to be comfortable. The first 2 trips, the price was cheaper than their contracted airline. I made my orders, booked my tickets with Airline Z, and everything was approved. Easy done, and then it wasn't. In July of 2017, it was going to be my 3rd trip to the Midwest. I did my orders, booked my flight with Airline Z. The price was slightly cheaper than the contracted airline price, so I figured, who doesn't want to save money? And I sent everything for approval. Well, the new approving manager, AM, denied my orders. I called her and asked why my orders were denied, and she said, "You didn't book your tickets with the contracted airline." I explained that I've flown 2 other times with Airline Z. The price has always been cheaper than the contracted airline, and per the union agreement. My orders shouldn't have been denied. She goes on to say, "Well, I wouldn't have approved them then, and I'm not approving them now. Redo your orders." Okay, so I redid my orders with the contracted airline. Again, the price was slightly higher than Airline Z, but I do and say what I'm told. When I arrived at the gate, I noticed the plane that the contracted airline was using was smaller than Airline Z. I was hoping it wasn't as cramped as it looked, but sure enough, when I got in, it immediately felt cramped. At 6'1", my head was a few inches from hitting the roof of the plane, and being slightly bulky, the seat I sat in was narrow and extremely uncomfortable. If I raised the armrest, my thighs spilled over into the other passenger's comfort zone. Thank God the seat behind me was empty for this trip. My knees were literally hitting the seat of the passenger in front of me. I somehow managed to grab my phone out of my pocket and take a picture of my legs and knees and show how cramped and uncomfortable I was. It was the longest 3-hour flight ever. As for the return flight, it was the same circumstance as the departure flight, except I had someone next to me who was also slightly bulky. I pulled out my phone again and painfully took another picture. I discreetly added the passenger size next to me to add to my discomfortable flight. October 2017 comes around, and I'm heading to training again. And once again, I had to book with the contracted airline. The same thing happened. Cramped seats, hurting knees, bulky passenger next to me, and this time the passenger in front of me leaned back on her seat mid-flight. With my phone at the ready, I took another picture of my horrible circumstance. My caption would have been, "This be how a sardine feels." On the return home, I paid for the emergency row, out of pocket. Booking the emergency exit row was an extra cost that wasn't allowed on government credit cards. It's Thanksgiving 2017, and I get advised I'm going back to the Midwest for more training. This time I'm ready. I had done a little research on the federal travel regulations and saw that business class was an option for air travel if the reason to book business class was for safety and health reasons. Bingo. I created my orders this time and booked business class with the contracted airline and included my health as an exceptional reason. The total price was almost 3 times the normal expense for this type of trip. I submitted my orders for my approval, and not even a minute passes when AM calls me. I answered the phone, and I didn't even get a chance to say hello.
"Why in the heck are you booking business class?"
Because on the contracted airline, I don't fit in the normal seats.
That's not a good enough reason. You need to change your class now, or I am not approving these at all.
No, it's a health issue. I need business class to sit comfortable. My legs and thighs cramp up and my knees hurt from banging the seat in front of me.
I'm not approving that. I'm coming over there and we're going to meet with your manager right now.
I was ready for this. I got my phone and walked to my manager's office. He's on the phone, so I quietly sit down and didn't say anything. He gets off the phone and asks, "What's up?" I smile and shake my head when in comes AM.
Glad you're here. He wants to book business class for his training trip.
You know you can't do that. Why'd you do it? I pulled out my phone. Remember my trip in July? Well, here's the first experience with a contracted airline heading to training. I gave my manager my phone, and he raises his eyebrows in disbelief. AM didn't look at the photo.
That's not the government's problem.
Okay. Manager hands me back my phone. Well, here's the picture from the return trip, and it was more uncomfortable than the outbound trip. I couldn't get settled the entire trip. My thighs and legs cramped a bit. I showed my manager my phone again, and he cringes. AM is still unfazed.
Your comfort is not our concern. We just need to get you there, and that's it.
And finally, I got my phone back and showed them the October trip. This is what happened on my last trip, which left my right thigh in pain for a few days. My lower back ached while sitting in training, which made it uncomfortable to learn or study the material, not to mention the sore knees I had from bumping into the seat in front of me. Again, I showed my manager the sardine picture, and he made the face like he just swallowed a lemon. I really do cramp up in those seats. I can't sit or stand up comfortably. I'm in the next passenger's personal space, and I cannot adjust my knees or legs at all during the flight. If I get hurt really bad where I can barely walk, I might have to miss a day or two in training. Therefore, for health reasons, I need business class on the contracted airline.
Well, that ain't gonna happen because I am not approving that request. You need to change it back to coach. You've done coach before with the contracted airline, you can do it again.
My manager just looks at her for a minute. For him, being a big guy himself, he knew my pain. Well, I think you should approve his orders, but I understand if you don't want to. He's provided me with enough info here to get a health exception. I can't have him miss training due to an injury because of cramped seats. If I have to, I'll have him send his orders to your manager for approval. Of course, I'm also going to send him a quick email with those pictures to back up the health exception. Do you mind sending me those pictures to my email? Sure, and sent. Thank you. He's quiet for a minute until he turns back to AM. What would have been the alternative to flying with the contracted airline?
There is none. We have to fly with the contracted airline.
I'm staying quiet because it's no longer my fight. Are you positive on that?
Yeah, 100%.
Then I guess we have to book him business class. And then he turns to his computer and starts typing something. AM, though, doesn't want to admit defeat, especially to her own boss.
Wait,
she says with one arm, stretched out, trying to get my manager to stop typing, which he does.
You know, he could fly coach with Airline Z.
That's an alternative. AM is now trying to save face now, but my manager isn't buying it. Are the tickets the same price as the contracted airline? I did a quick internet search on my phone, which, by the way, is not the way you research official travel prices. You're supposed to use the government search engine, and AM should have caught this, but she didn't. No, sir. All prices are up really high right now. AM is mad, knowing that she has completely lost. So, before I finish my email and send it off to your manager, will you approve his orders? AM nods like a spoiled child, and she walks out of the office. I thanked my manager, and left to resend my orders to AM with business class for my November training. By the way, it wasn't much difference, except for wider seats, more legroom, my knees didn't touch the seat in front of me, and free drinks. January 2018 comes around, and I get another training class, except this time, I get approved to fly with Airline Z from AM. The audio got corrupted here, sorry. If I were the person in the story, our protagonist, I guess, I wouldn't have gone through with the malicious compliance, but I'm also a less risky person. I would have just brought it up to my manager directly and been like, hey, the airline hurts me. Let me fly on a different one. Or get business class. Okay, let's move on to the other story. Alright, here we go. Guy who considers himself an alpha male disqualifies himself due to a spice tolerance ego. I had an acquaintance who was part of a group of friends who always tried to do alpha male stuff to prove himself within the group when women were around. One thing he liked to do when he arrived at a bar was he would grab your half-finished beer, drink it, and then buy you a whole new one. I always shrugged at this stuff, cause this guy was obviously super insecure. One night, we were hanging out and met a girl. I was really into her, but he was too. He was doing all his usual stuff, but I had a sense that the girl was more into me. I asked her if she wanted to leave the bar, and my friend overheard this and took that as an invitation that we should all leave together, of course. We arrived at my place, and he spotted some peppers in my room that I had left out drying to make salsa. They're called Aurora peppers, and are some of the hottest peppers you can eat. The conversation went like this. "What are those?" "Those are Aurora peppers." "Can I have them?" I wouldn't. They're extremely hot." "It's okay. I'm South American." 30 seconds later, he's sputtering and trying to spit them out. He asked for milk, but all we had was expired milk. He drank it anyways, and then immediately ran to the bathroom. While he was in there, the girl and I had a good laugh at his expense. I told her about how he's always trying to be alpha, and she laughed, mentioning things he'd done throughout the night that was super transparent. He came out of the bathroom saying he needed to go home right away, so he called a cab and went home, and I ended up hooking up with the girl. I think the concept of an alpha male is kind of a joke, and I really hope it was to begin with, but now it's just kind of evolved into something that, people actually do, just getting in people's way to show them that I'm better than you. Well, it's kind of just more of a jerk move, and you're not going to get anybody that way, unless, you're with somebody who likes that kind of person, which I guess then you have your way, but then if alpha male didn't exist to begin with, you wouldn't have to deal with that, and then everybody could just, share more of the girls. So, if we just stop the alpha male thing, win-win for everybody, and more girls for everyone. Alright, I'm afraid I have to cut this video short, because midway through making this video, I was gonna upload it, and then all of a sudden, the third story just decided to disappear from Reddit. And this just makes me sad. I still have the story here, but I don't want to use it without crediting somebody. I don't know if it was fake or something, but it was actually pretty similar to the second story. But anyway, I guess that wraps things up for this video. I think we did a good job. If you have any feedback, please leave a comment. No need to subscribe, but it would be nice. I'll see you in the next video. If you haven't already checked out my other Reddit videos, check one out here. And if you haven't checked out my musical covers, which are great, by the way, totally not using a violin that is untuned and a recorder or anything, check it out right here.